Hey, good afternoon, everybody. How's everyone doing this fine weekend? Anyways, as it said in the title, um, Canadian fail, and we are failing as a country very quickly, and that is pretty much all due to the Liberal Party, namely Justin Trudeau, our virtue signaling Prime Minister. Now, if you take a look back at just what happened here, the shooting in Toronto, the two children, 10 and 12. I mean, that's a travesty. I'm not going to play on it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I mean, that should speak for itself and it should wake a bunch of people up. Unfortunately, you read things like the Star, that says, a spare shed of pity for the family of the Danforth shooter, the Hussein family who lost its anonymity, along with blah, 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 blah. So that's kind of beyond describable. Um, and everybody's, kind of like, they say it's the Canadian way, we don't pass judgment. We don't talk about it. We don't talk it light. We don't make it political. But what we do is we bring in gun control, like the Toronto City Council did, legislation for banning guns. Now, you really think about that. I've got lots of guns. I mean, I own lots of rifles. I've hunted for years, a lot longer than I can even remember. Um, Rifles, black powder, shot pistols. I don't have them anymore, obviously, because there's just too much of a pain in the ass up here. But the point being is, and I've yet to see a credible answer, is that people who are obeying the rules and the laws are not the problem. Now, that to most of us would be painfully obvious. But for the other side, and most of them, honestly, and I'm not saying all of them, there's a few that get it that don't own guns, but understand why. Um, that we're not the problem. We're not the problem. You got a criminal element in this country who are going to get guns illegally. Okay, now let that illegally, not irregularly, illegally. Now, how do we stop that? And again, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But attacking again law-abiding citizens is not the way to go about it, because all you're going to do is you're just going to piss even more people off. Because number one, as far as I'm concerned, and I kind of expressed this about separation in the last video I made, is that it should be our obligation as Canadian patriots and Canadian citizens to have weapons to be able to defend ourselves. Um, and anymore, that's kind of getting to be a mute point that you shouldn't, you could call the cops. Well, like the old saying goes, call the cops or call the pizza guy. Guess who's going to get here first? And we've had numerous break-ins here, not even involving guns, and it's just like, prime reliance on the police does not work. Most of the time, vehicles get broke into, um, and what? The police don't even come out. What are they going to do? And I mean, rightfully so, but they have taken it out of our hands to actually deal with our own safety and our own property, where we can't deal with it. It's just like, somebody broke into your truck for the 14th time. Just deal with it. It happens all the time. It's not a big deal. It's only your money. You're only paying insurance. That's why the rates go up. And I know you see where this escalates to. So that it's just a stupid argument, um, that we cannot defend ourselves. And what we turn this into a police state. I keep hearing more cops, more cops, more cops. What we going to have a cop on every house? That's what we want. Yeah, welcome to communist China. Yes, and then we bring in the internet rules, like, and Islamophobia, and I'm pretty sure everybody that more than likely, if you're watching this, you already agree with what I'm saying and many others. The idea about arming citizens, and it's our duty to be armed. I actually heard a fellow YouTuber that I'm subscribed to, a gentleman by the name of Joe Hazelton. And he had brought that up in his video about, he was talking about Bill C-71. Now, it's I thought that's actually the first time I really thought about it. I mean, I lived in the States for like 11 years, so it was, I never had a problem. Nobody ever pulled a gun on me. I didn't get shot at. I've, I've been shot at here in my house. Imagine that, eh? Uh, so, you know, and he brings up a valid point. You know, we should be able to protect ourselves. And I mean, before anybody gets off on a high horse saying, oh, well, you know, these poor people. Okay, it is my right to protect my family and what I own. I work hard for that, as do the rest of you. You know, and I kind of like it in Alaska where I live. Um, one of my neighbors had a car broke into, and he walked out on the porch. Unfortunately, he was at home, and he shot the guy from his porch. Bang. And he called the troopers up. The troopers came out, and the guy had busted out the window and was reaching in. A little bit of a different attitude. The way they look at it as, they don't like say, oh, that poor criminal, he had a hard life. His mom and dad hated him. You know, he didn't go to school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Cry me a fucking river. And part of my English. But what about our right? And the way they look at it is you can steal that vehicle, but is your life worth that vehicle? Are you willing to risk your life so you can steal a vehicle? And that's the question that the criminals have to ask themselves. Because more than likely they're going to, you know, if they get caught, somebody's going to shoot them or at the very least detain them at gunpoint. Great, you take a bat out here and that, and then, you know, a lot of people here don't have the stomach for it because that's just not a lot of people, especially in the city now that I'm seeing, that's not the way people were raised. They're not taught to defend themselves. You know, we use strong words and language and honk horns and but nobody actually goes out and defends themselves. Now, I'm not calling for an all-out brawl, but where does it end? Going back now to the shooting in Toronto, why would we feel sorry for the family of the shooter? I mean, really, what about the family of the kids? And you know, it's a dishonor before anything's out, and they're talking about gun control already. You know, and people are going to use this. Oh, look at you know, and they're criminals. They're called criminals for a reason. They use guns. They use knives. Yes. Take a look. Guns compared to vehicles. Should we be banning all vehicles on the road? And I mean, I could put the same argument that people are using for guns against vehicles because vehicles kill a hell of a lot more people than guns ever did. So is that we just outright ban vehicles? I'm sure Trudeau would probably be happy. Well, maybe not because that carbon tax thing would go, you know, they're relying on that cash grab. But you see where I'm going with this. I mean, it's crazy. You know, the only way we don't need new rules. We just need the old ones reinforced. You know, we need the ability because the cops. I don't want the cops everywhere. You know, it's not their job but to patrol my house. You know, that's our job as family members to be watching out for our families. Somebody grabs a kid out in the yard here. Am I going to call the cops or am I going to try grabbing the guy? You know, okay. Then what? What happens if he's got a gun illegally? Of course, yeah. You know, well, dude, he had a hard life. You know, I shouldn't have tried. I should have called the cops rather than trying to save the kid. And this is where it goes. And I mean, everything I'm saying has been done. This has happened already. So it's not. I'm not saying anything that's far fetched. Anything that's out of the ordinary. This has happened. I'm using real world examples, and many of them. Most people just don't get saved. They go day to day. Oh well, you know, that's terrible. That's just horrible. And then I hear at work, of course, the guys say, well, if that happened in my house, yeah, you'd do nothing because here in Canada, also, you're not allowed to defend yourself. Heaven forbid that the guy should end up getting hurt in your home while trying to do that. I had a break in a few years ago. I was renting a house, one of the mines I was working at up northern BC. And come home, the and actually I got a laugh because, you know, I had a pair of beaver skin mitts that were gauntlet sized and it was homemade. It was a gift from a friend. Those were stolen. My laptop, I had like 20 bucks in change on the counter. That wasn't bad. Those mitts really ticked me off. So I called the cops. You know, it was in the snow, so you could see the boot prints. You could see where the guys had jimmied the side window and that. And I asked the officer, I said, why don't you take fingerprints off the window? He said, well, he said that could be one of your friends. And I looked at the guy like, excuse me, like, I don't know about your friends, but my friends, when they come over, they use the front door. They don't come to the side window, and they know when I'm not home. So unless there was a fire and they were rescuing my stuff to give it back to me later, that would be excusable. Unfortunately, there was no fire. All the stuff got stolen. There we go. But that was the thing. He didn't fingerprint anything. He just told me, he says, well, make sure you go check out the pawn shops. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I mean, I did, you know, and he said, call us if you get any leads. There you go. Call us if you get any leads. So I'm more to the point, and that's one of the fails in Canada. The other fail is now we're looking at immigration. All the illegal, not irregular, it's illegal. Now they can push whatever agenda they want, it's illegal. You're not crossing at a port of entry, it's illegal. Now I don't care if they're claiming a refugee, if it is a genuine thing, go through the port of entry. The reason they know is they're circumventing the rules, as probably most of you already know, and they're going through there having our RCMP play luggage boys and have a little tent there, and we're housing them in the hotels because, you know, we don't want to look like Obama, you know, and split the kids up. I mean, we were doing that earlier, but now Trudeau wants to make it look like, oh, I'm a concerned world citizen. The other point I would like to talk about, and please, anything I'm mentioning, if you agree with me, comment. If you disagree with me, comment. This is the only way we're going to have it. And I'm not going to call anybody an it, well, unless it's a total stupid statement. And most of the time I ask anybody who's leaving a statement, you know, research your, think it out a little bit. Don't just say, oh, gun control works. You know, that you're going to get a blast from me. Because it doesn't, or you know, things like that. Or what do you think about banning the vehicles? So we ban every vehicle because they kill people, you know, because that's the same thought process that's going behind the guns. Immigration, what do you guys think? Illegal immigration. So here we are, and I was talking about separation from Eastern Canada last couple weeks ago, actually. Just a second, I'm drinking non-alcoholic beer here, so. Since the accident, I don't drink anymore. I had a rib. I got caught with a bunch of rocks, and I busted all my ribs and went through the lung and the liver. So I'm still alive. I'm still working, so I'm good. It just no more alcohol. But anyways, that leave. You know, if you got comments about the immigration and that, please leave it. You know, let's have a discussion because this is where it's going to go. We need to this stuff cannot hide. And I've always said, if you push things into the shadows, I guarantee you're not going to like what comes out of those shadows. And that happens every time. History is a great teacher for those who choose to read it. Or you can ignore it and then just everything blows up in your face, you know, and then say, gee, how did that happen? Yeah, well, you were stupid. So there you go. What can you say? Unfortunately, with our leader being stupid, that Justin Trudeau, that's dragging the rest of us down. You look at our economy, you compare, you know, I know people love talking about Trump and that, bashing him. I believe they're calling it Trump derangement syndrome. So what basically happens is our guy up here gets a free pass because for some reason, many people who are liberals hate Trump and that's all they want to talk about. You know, they don't want to talk about Trudeau groping a woman. You know, that you notice how that slipped under the doormat, eh? You know, they don't want to talk about, well, where is he? You know, did he rush back to Toronto? No, he's still out here in BC holidaying. You know, poor hard done by. Take a look at our economies. Compare the economies. You know, like right now, you know, basically our oil field took a beating. Our mining industry and forestry industry took a shit kicking. So what does that leave us? What are we supposed to do? And these are good paying jobs. The adding jobs from 12.50 to $15 an hour is, in this day and age, you figure that out. Calculate that out. $15 an hour, 40 hours a week. Calculate that out over a year. Figure it out. Yeah, you don't even come across it. You're still below the poverty line. So those jobs getting added don't count. That to me. It just so the mining industry got clobbered. The oil industry, and they're sitting on the pipeline now. I'm pretty sure they're going to make an announcement somewhere before the election to make it look like, see, we told you we'd be doing it, or try to give some sweetheart deal to some company. And I'm sure there's a lot of companies out there just waiting for the Liberals to give the pipeline away in the rights, after paying $4.5 billion. But take a look, like, big reason that I wanted to talk, look at separation was, here we are, even in our good days as Canada, we have a huge potential here. We've got just every much potential as the United States does. The one thing we don't have a proper constitution. You can be patriotic and that and say it's not. I mean, the Constitution, if we could ever get the provinces, which is why I've talked separation, to agree to open it up to give the citizens, us guys, remember, not the politicians, I don't care about them. They do really well to take care of themselves. Us citizens, the real rights we deserve, the right to protect ourselves, free speech, all these should be enshrined totally. Because right now, the stuff we got in there is being manipulated all to hell, and it will be for quite some time as far as I can see. And there's no going back on that. So what do we do if we separate? Okay, well, instead of shipping all our raw products out, and you want good paying jobs, because that stuff's in demand, because a lot of countries don't have, copper, gold, lead, zinc, iron, the rare earth minerals and that. A lot of the oil, we got the tar sand sitting up there, Well, why don't we put refineries here? Why don't we put smelters here and start putting people to work for good paying jobs, opening up some mines? What are we saving for? Really, our forest industry took a beating. Here, we're shipping out, I'm talking both softwood and hardwood lumber. Let's start doing something with that. I'm not even going to pretend that I'm a wood person. But I know enough that, we could actually have a booming, thriving industry here that Canadians could own, Canadians could work at, and start sending finished products someplace else. Well, we're getting paid good. And I think Trump's got the right idea there. Let's bring it back here. What's this globalization done for us other than nothing? We got all this protectionist stuff going on. Well, why? Why are we, we got the marketing board in place, oh, that protects us globally. Okay, well, why are we even dealing with these people? Let's set our own house up. Let's become a power where we actually got some say, not just have a guy like Trudeau out there yapping a lot about how wonderful life is. And, Canada has no core identity. So come on over, turn the country into the shithole you left. There you go. And you see that all over the place. I talk to a lot of people that have even immigrated here like 20 years ago that are saying the same thing. They're like, what the hell? Things have changed in the last 3 years. So why don't we start building these smelters? Why don't we start building the refineries, the stuff to do finished wood products? And let's put Canadians to work. Let's start doing it and let us ship it out there. That way we could become, and together partner with the United States, nothing wrong with that, and become a dynamic powerhouse together rather than this quibbling and fighting. A few videos ago, I had mentioned about our wonderful leader who had sat there and said when, Trump wanted to sign a bilateral trade agreement with Canada, and Trudeau said, no, we're three amigos, that there. Now Mexico's talking to the United States about a bilateral agreement, and we're going to get left out in the cold again. So, yeah, genius, just bloody genius part on our wonderful idiot we got. Canada's village idiot, And I mean that. How do you describe this guy? Go through some of the YouTube. Steeper 33's got some out in the YouTube channel, Bourbon and Bullets, and take a look at some of the videos. I mean, even that. Just go through there and Google some of the interviews that this idiot has done in the House of Commons about trade, about China. And I'm not just talking on the campaign trail because he was an MP before this, before he was that. And just listen to this guy talk. Female genital mutilation, barbaric practices. This he wants this stuff here. He wants it here. ISIS. He wants the ISIS fighters here. Yeah. How's that going for us? Yeah. I feel so much safer knowing that we got guys here that are terrorists that beheaded people with knives. And I would also recommend that if you've never seen somebody beheaded with a knife, go to some of the sites that actually show this stuff. I guarantee you it's a lot easier to say, oh, those poor people, we pushed them. And then you see these bloody murderers sit there and take a guy's head off with a knife and then tell me the same thing. Yeah, not nice to think about, but that actually took place. So, we're going to talk in facts. Let's use the facts. I mean, this feel good, oh, well, they're not that bad of people. And yeah, they're high. Yeah, go take a look at what they do. Why do you think that some of the people in the Middle East want to kill these guys? Literally on sight. And I mean, tear them to pieces, not just kill them. They want to tear them to pieces. Why do you think that is? Because they're great people? Because they're suppressed? No, because they're bloody cold-blooded murderers. That's all they are, under the guise of whatever it is they believe. So have a look at that and what our idiot prime minister has been saying for the last decade for sure. Well, beyond that, since he was a kid, he's been blabbing. But he's gonna lead us absolutely nowhere. And that's exactly where we're going as Canada under him and Jerry Butts. Because don't forget Gerald Butts. That's the mouthpiece behind the stick. That Gerald Butts. Trudeau ain't got the brains to talk about half what he does. And he's an embarrassment when he does open his mouth. But he's pushing the agenda that Butts wants to see. So, between the two of them, they both need to just go away forever out of Canada. If that doesn't help, that's why I would like to separate. Let's start. Getting back to the separation part, flat tax, 10%. There you go. Everybody gets charged 10% tax. Yep. Do like they do in Alaska. We own the resource. I keep hearing that. We Canadians own the resources. When's the last time anybody got a check for the resources we sell? Anybody? No. Gee whiz. I didn't see. No hands go up. How about that? Well, why don't we start getting it here so we got people invested? I was talking about land sales, all of this crown land we got. And if we split the country up in two, which I think we should do, now we got lots of land. Now we got people, we can actually have residents that actually have the right. It's the right to own land. And I mentioned this before. I mean, it's not, they got this under there, it's a privilege to have a driver's license. It's a privilege to be able to work. It's a privilege to be able to pay taxes. It's a privilege to own land. Really? I'm a Canadian citizen. I think my privilege allows me to own land at a reasonable price, not make the lawyers and the real estate agents and the politicians rich, where they sit there, oh, no, we can't give up that land because we're holding it for that. Our First Nations people, let's start signing some agreements here. We can't seem to sit at the same damn table and come up with agreement that's good for everybody. Why? Called negotiations. They've done it in a lot of other places. Why can't we do it? Sit there, talk. We're all Canadians. I mean, let's go back, so many years, like where you guys are, you guys are the immigrants. This is our country. But we could sit there and we could talk about that stuff till the cows come home. Obviously, the Canadian government way back then signed treaties. They're not going to live up to them. So obviously that's a moot point, or they're going to diddle around and they're going to reframe it. You sign the treaties, live up to the damn things, and then we can all move on. Until that happens, nothing's going to change. So if we separate, we can sit down. The people we elect can sit down with the First Nations and we can hammer it out so we can start using some of the land. And everybody prospers. That would be under a new constitution we would sign, designed for the people, not for the crown, not for some British common law, whatever. I'm not going to, I almost swore again, but let's have it so we have a constitution that works for the working people, for the people here, for the companies that want to make big, hire good people, have good paying jobs. Yeah, I'm making it sound good, and it can be. It's all depends on how we negotiate this stuff and how we see it, and we don't get too crazy. Because as soon as you go in there and you put the responsibility, well, the government should be doing this, the government should be doing this. No, leave it to the private business, and the citizens should be doing this. That is where the responsibility is done. The government is just there to regulations, very minimal. They're there to help. Right now, they're just getting in the goddamn way. That's all they're doing. And every time some idiot turns around and says, well, the government should do that, it costs us money. Do you think the government's doing all this for free? No. So have a good look at that. See what you think. What would be a good constitution for whatever the western part of whatever we decide to call it? What do we want to see? I mean, there's some good wording out there. There's some really good constitutions out there that are actually for the people. And I know, what a concept, eh? And it's pretty sad in 2018 we got to be talking about this. I mean, this elitist left attitude ends, where the government is responsible for everything. We will take care of it. We will tax you to death. Just have a look. Anybody going home with more money the last 3 years? Anybody getting a good paying job at 30, 40? And I'm not talking like 200-300 people. I'm talking tens of thousands of people getting good paying jobs in that. And if not, why? Anybody ask why? Why are we not? Because we're prohibited from doing that. The rights to defend ourselves as citizens is gone. The criminals have more goddamn rights than we got. Why? How is that possible? Are we that's not compassionate, that's stupid. That makes us stupid. And do you think the criminals are going to sit there and say, well, they did it for us, our benefit, because they feel bad for us. Maybe we shouldn't steal and rob and shoot people and not use illegal guns. Yeah, look at what they're doing for us. They're giving us a chance. Yeah, right. In what world do we live in? And it's not going to happen. So it's time we took it back, organize things the way it needs to be. So it grows. The country's fair for people, us. We can have good jobs. Companies can come in and actually do things without having to jump through 4 billion hoops and then still not be able to get it done. We can do all this stuff responsibly. They all talk, I'm sure, like the environmentalists, oh yeah, wholesale. No, there's technology out there you can use to actually curtail a lot of the pollution and environmental damages out there. There is. You just got to be upfront. Tell people this is the way, this is what we're going to do. But don't keep moving the damn goalposts every time. Okay, well, we meet this standard. Well, that wasn't good enough. We're moving the goalpost 100 yards down there. Now you got to meet this because we changed our mind. What the hell business is going to come in and do business in Canada that way? So, like I said, separate. It's the only way I can see. Start from scratch again. And we can do it. We've got some very brilliant people here. We've got some really good businesses, and we've got some good role models. And what do we got to lose? I mean, seriously. So anyways, everybody have a good weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Please comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think down below, if you would. And let's get the conversation going and see what everybody else thinks and start bringing everybody into the fold. Let's talk about this. Anyways, have a good one.